Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
The only thing that keeps me from cracking you in the jaw is the almost certain possibility that it would break your neck.
This is episode 197, recorded February 16th, 2025.
Gruesome Magazine.
My name is Jeff Mohr, and on this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monster spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts. First up is Chad Hunt, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 70s and 80s, film producer and director with Wreak Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer, and my friend. How you doing, Chad?
Oh, that last part really warmed my heart. Now I have to go to the bathroom. Hold on.
It warms your heart. Okay, also with us, as usual, is Daphne, who's awesome, stupendous, and likable hell, and also a friend. How are you, Daphne?
I'm good. It's great to see you guys.
And joining us while Doc is cruising.
Cruising.
He's
I thought
cruise.
I thought you said Joannis. I was like, who's he? Why is he joining us? You just said joining us. Okay.
Oh, well. Don't distract me. The recoveries will be very slow. Also joining
Still
us
thinking of the bathroom.
to fill out our team of four, our Fab Four, is Gregory Crosby. How you doing, Gregory?
I am excellent, Jeff.
Are you? Good.
Yes. And even if I wasn't, I would still now be pretending to be excellent because I am in the company of you delightful people. Although you'll notice, Jeff didn't call me a friend.
I was just getting to that. Also a friend.
Too late now.
Yeah, it is kind of. All right. Well,
Don't trust
folks,
anyone.
Yeah. So that's the Grue-Crew for this episode. Decades of Horror, Gruesome Magazine, also partner with Playdown Media. And the Classic Era is shown on 3 of their streaming channels: the Classic Horror Movie Channel, the Science Fiction Classic Movie Channel, and the Wicked Horror TV Channel.
It's wicked.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. So you can just go to their app or their streaming and just watch them, and you'll get ads. But when you go back, it won't remember that you were there. But if you subscribe and create an account without paying anything, then you can save things to your favorites, and it'll remember where you were the next time you come back to the movie, even from different devices. But you still get the ads, and there's some premium content that you won't be able to see. However, you can subscribe. It's $6.99 a month, or if you pay for a year, it's $49.99. And we have a nifty promo code for you. For Classic here, it's DOH60, as in not 70 or 80. So DOH, all caps, 60, and that will give you 10% off your first payment. So you'd get $1.40 off your first monthly payment if you signed up for the monthly plan, or better yet, you'd get about $10 off for the annual plan, and the annual charge would only be $40. But you have to subscribe. You have to be a new subscriber, and you have to subscribe through their website.
Quite a deal. I mean, that's for the cost of less than 2 lattes. You could have an entire month's worth.
Approximately,
of movies to completely derange and corrupt your mind. There you go.
What a deal.
So check those out. And their websites are on our website blog. If you go to gruesomemagazine.com and pick on one of the recent podcasts, it will list the websites. If you go to Classic Era, you'll see all 3 of them for each of those 3 that I list. So sign up for those. They are fun, And that's what I'm going to do tonight. The night after a podcast, I go surfing through Play Now Media stuff. All right. Spoiler alert. This movie is almost 80 years old. If you haven't seen it, we're going to talk about what happened. So you should go see it first. All right. So what we do is we start by giving some basic details of the film we're covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie, and then taglines, some posters, and a general discussion about whatever we feel like talking about. Most of the time, but I can't promise you, relating to the film.
Sorry,
All
Jeff.
right.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you've done, Daphne.
What did I do?
No,
You didn't do
nothing.
anything.
Daphne pointed at Chad when you mentioned taglines, and I was trying to do it, but I forget it's like a mirror thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm doing
it
this,
is.
and that's not. It's Chad.
Well, you can,
Dag.
there's a setting in the software that you can have it mirror.
I'm sure.
But then if you hold
I'm
up
sure-
a book,
I'm sure there's a
of poetry,
setting
it'll be
for
backwards.
everything, but
All right, our topic
Yes.
today is The Spiral Staircase from 1946. And that is a picture of a candle, which is actually one of the main characters of the film. There's a lot of candles, a lot of walking in the dark on the spiral staircase. So this one is directed by Robert Siodmak. Screenplay is written by Mel Donnelly from the novel by Ethelina White, Some Must Watch from 1933. The cast includes Dorothy McGuire, Ethel Barrymore, George Brent, Kent Smith, Rhonda Fleming, Gordon Oliver, Elsa Lanchester, Sarah Allgood, Reese Williams, and James Bell. This is a production of RKO Radio Pictures, filmed in RKO Studios. IMDb says also Detroit, Michigan, but I got no idea what that was. Maybe some outside shots of house or something. Filming dates, August to October 1945. Release date, February 7th, 1946. Also known as The Silence of Helen McCord, which was the working title. And anybody got their French all polished up there? Fire away. Hearing nothing. Du main
I was trying
dans
out a French
la
class,
nuit.
yeah,
I don't know.
give it a
But
shot.
it's a cool title, Two Hands in the Night, and you'll see why that might be a good title. In German, it's Die Wendeltreppe, which is a spiral staircase. In Italy, it's the Scala Ciacciola, the spiral staircase. People like the spiral staircase. So, the synopsis of this film. In 1916, a shadowy serial killer is targeting women who have afflictions. One night during a thunderstorm, the mute Helen is the target. And that's the name of that tune. All right. So first up is First Impressions, and this is Daphne's pick. I want to hear what she thought of this and if she'd seen it before.
No, I hadn't seen it. I hadn't even heard of it. And it was recommended to me. And so I watched it and I thought it was really interesting. I liked it a lot. It was difficult to watch at points just because of, remembering the time. Just the fact that the women had so little agency. Listening to some of the things that were said to Helen was just annoying. But I just reminded myself, the time. But the more I thought about it, I was like, I think even at the time, I was definitely getting a lot of subversive vibes going on from like the message about the movie, as far as there was, it was definitely like female centric. All the stories were really, I felt like they were the women's stories. Even the killer isn't really, I don't know. He doesn't really seem to be a strong part of the story. but I really liked it. I liked that. I thought the pacing was great. The of course the cinematography, I know we're going to talk about, beautiful. But I thought it was really interesting, and it made me think a lot. It was awesome seeing Elsa, and it was funny too. I thought that had a lot of humor in it as well. So I thought it was great, and I'm really glad that I saw it.
Excellent. All right, Chad.
I, on the other hand, no, this I've never seen this before. This is a good movie. This is a really good movie. It's shot well. It's the cinematography, the sets is all just magnificent to look at, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I wasn't scared by it or anything. I wasn't. But I don't know if that was the purpose of the movie to begin with. But yeah, I'm sort of in the same camp as Daphne. Some of the ways that the women were referred to and talked about was kind of annoying to listen to, but it was the times that they were in when they made it. It's just either every woman was psychotic, alcoholic, or disfigured physically in some way, but Elsa Lanchester was fabulous in it. I loved her in it, her and her little nips, and I loved a lot. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I don't know if it's horror specifically, and Jeff, if you say horror adjacent, I'm going to knock your jaw loose, like I said at the beginning. But
there was a serial killer.
Yeah.
It's okay, Chad. I'll describe it as horror adjacent.
Okay, there we go.
But in a particular way.
You good, Chad?
What's his address again?
I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, I'm done.
I
liked it. I liked it.
Are we going to start watching
Yay.
horror movies again? Okay, so good. And Gregory Crosby, have you seen this before?
So here's the story. Last month, or maybe 6 weeks ago, Lincoln Center, Film at Lincoln Center, did a whole Robert Siodmak retrospective.
Oh, cool!
Which was very exciting. And I thought, I almost went and saw movies I'd seen many times, like Phantom Lady, or of course Son of Dracula, our dear old friend Count Alucard. And I thought, don't do that. Go see the ones that you've never seen. And there was a particular Wednesday in which, in the afternoon, they were playing Cobra Woman, which of course is a camp classic that was hugely influential on underground.
Is this like a Robert Siodmak festival?
It is. It's a full color. Yeah. Look it up. It's amazing. It was hugely influential on the underground filmmakers in the late 50s and early 60s. They loved it. It was one of their touchstones, and it is absolutely a over the top, Technicolor, melodramatic, camp as hell, beautiful South Seas adventure. It's really great. But in the evening was The Spiral Staircase, which I'd also never seen. So I did a sort of double feature. I went and saw Cobra Woman in the afternoon, had some dinner, and then went back for The Spiral Staircase. And I loved the Spiral. I still love both films, but The Spiral Staircase was great because it sort of stands at this intersection between the Gothic and old dark house and noir. Particularly in the way that it's shot. It feels like and the more I think about it, the more I think it's like just a classic Gothic, which almost always centers women's stories, even when they are somehow marginalized or oppressed inside the story in the ways that Daphne alluded to. Although, as we will see, spoiler alert, it is a woman who saves the day, in this film. Who comes to rescue. I thought it was great. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I want to say that I knew right away who the killer was, but I didn't. I'm not going to pretend that I knew who the killer was. It took me about halfway through the movie to go, oh, okay. So that's great, because it's the kind of movie that there's all kinds of great. You've seen enough movies, especially movies from the classic era. There's all kinds of really good movies that have really great bits of foreshadowing. in them. And the moment Ethel Barrymore says, "I was a really great shot," I was like, "Oh, I know what the climax of this is going to be," which was delightful. But I did not right away guess who the killer was. Interestingly enough, I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right, thank you. And I love this movie. Goes without saying. I love this. I think Gregory described it perfectly as kind of a gothic film noir, serial killer cross. And I'm not going to talk about if it's that subcategory or not, but I am very liberal about what I call horror, and I just flat out am going to go serial killer. Box checked. The hell with it. I'm gonna. Now, it's not going to hold a candle to 80s slasher movies, which are all serial killers. But I think the tension is there. Did I get scared? No, but I had certain tension at the early scenes where she's going home during a storm, and there's the guy in the black raincoat stalking her from the trees. And a few of them when they're walking around in the dark in the basement and stuff like that. So I love the cast. This is one of those casts that I love everybody in the cast. They got a huge amount of credits, and if they don't have a huge amount of credits, they've got a huge amount of what's the word I want? Standing as actors. Anyway, it reminds me a little bit, although it's not the same. But it reminds me a little bit of House by the River, Fritz Lang. But that may come up again later. Dorothy McGuire's fantastic.
Yes.
They're all fantastic. Elsa Lanchester's great. There's several red herrings. So when you say you weren't sure who it was, it seems like they kind of like there's the guy that would be the least likely. There's the guy that would be the most likely. And then there's a couple other guys that are kind of, so anyway. But I agree with what you said about the women because like when she's at the beginning, Kent Smith, Dr. Perry he's driving her home in the carriage because it's dangerous out, and she needs to get home before dark. But then he dumps her off in the dark with a storm coming and says, "Hurry straight home." I just was sort of like, what was the thinking behind that? I know he had to hurry.
It's a big yard between where he dropped off over
medical,
right?
A medical emergency kind of thing. But all right, so I enjoyed it. So what the heck?
And it occurs to me that if this movie had been in Italian, it just would have been a giallo.
Well, yes, I was gonna bring that up.
Right down to the gloves.
Yeah. I was
So,
gonna bring that up.
That's definitely horror adjacent, if we may say so.
I hate giallos.
Yeah.
You do not.
They're
You always
eyeballs.
say that, but you don't really.
They're the worst, man.
That's my story. All right.
Man, I hope Bill doesn't watch this episode.
I'm glad you're here, Chad.
Thank you.
I am too.
Because
it's now time for Taglines with Chad, as played by Chad his own self.
Oh boy, look at all these taglines.
Oh, I looked hard this time.
Oh, are you kidding? Are you
No,
kidding? I'm still scrolling.
These are all on posters.
Okay.
Some of them make absolutely no sense, but what the heck?
Okay. Conflicts that freeze your emotions. Suspense that takes your breath.
Not take it away, just takes it.
Just takes it.
conflicts that freeze your emotions sounds like a studio executive note. Can we have more conflicts that freeze your emotions?
I want my emotions frozen. more of those kind of conflicts. Fear that cannot be voiced. Love that cannot be told. Vowist. I've never seen that word before.
I was going to quick correct it, but I knew you wouldn't.
Just cut and paste
I can't believe people enter stuff in IMDb and don't spell it right. That's
Inspired portrayals. This week on In Search Of.
I mean, that is accurate.
Okay.
It's a very good cast.
The story that could not be told, and yet it was.
Oh dear, that one.
Hollywood called the story impossible to produce or spell. Such mounting suspense, such daring emotional power, such difficult starring roles, yet here it is in all its flawless fascination.
I left that in on purpose because I wanted to hear you say Hollywood.
Hollywood called the story. I feel like a 5-year-old or Stewie from Family Guy wrote that.
But now I've corrected it, so anybody who comes back in centuries from now, they'll know you just.
Electrifying suspense. Terror taut. T-A-U-T. As in the rope is taut. Emotion packed. The thriller with the eye.
Shouldn't that be taught with terror? I think that's a syntax problem with that one.
Yeah.
That
would have messed up the alliteration.
Yeah. Clearly.
Vibrant beyond suspense.
I don't understand what's happening.
Oh, wait. Did you say the other one?
The thriller with the eye? Yes, I certainly did.
Oh, okay.
So daring, never before in Hollywood's brilliant record of great motion pictures has anything like it ever been attempted.
Wow.
Except 100 times before in different movies. There's always another twist too. The spiral staircase.
No, that one's actually not bad.
Yeah.
That one's fine.
Only a Fred like that.
One of the strongest thrillers ever made.
Now that sounds like Leonard Maltin back in time to give them that tagline. That's a very. What is that? One of the strongest thrillers ever made.
One of the strongest thrillers. I thought it was more Gomer Pyle. One of the strongest thrillers ever made. Sergeant Carter. Wow, that was odd. That was an odd get through right there.
And that's been Taglines with Chad.
Chad's our hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Or worse.
They can be that bad, but all right. That was
only two of those were translated from foreign languages.
No doubt terror taught.
We'll have no, actually that one wasn't. We might see that. So let's move to some posters where we might see some of these taglines. And like a lot of movies like this, what the heck just happened? Why did my screen just get smaller?
Well, all men your age have that problem.
Jeff, you are Jeff. I just want to make clear, you are.
I told you to delete that video.
You are big. It was the pictures that got small.
Yeah,
the whole world got smaller. You got bigger.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. First poster. That's the one you see on IMDb.
Okay.
I don't know why that stuff is on a tattered piece of paper, but okay. And we have Ethel Barrymore and George Brent peeking around the edge. That's okay. Here's a couple lobby card type things, which I actually like. I like the top one. I don't know if it's because of the blue or what, but
it's more dramatic, more shadow.
It's nice, Batman angle on Dorothy Mohr.
And bottom one's got the staircase on it with a shadowy figure.
I want to breathe your neck.
The terror is very taut in that one.
Oh, is that the one that says it? Oh, that one says grip.
I was just speaking to the terror.
You can feel the taut terror.
All right. French. And or maybe Dutch. there's one of the taglines was down at the bottom there. She's on
Maybe
the
one of
stairs.
our two listeners from the Netherlands will know what this
She's
is.
got the candle. All right. Italian.
Oh.
I like this one.
Now, again, this is the Italian poster. Again, could that be any more giallo? Even the hands are even yellow. Come on.
They don't have their black gloves on.
It's
And this is a
proto-giallo.
fairly understated Italian because she has she's wearing something that you could have actually seen in the movie. And she's Dorothy is
And they gave her red hair.
cringing on the stairs. Yeah.
That's actually great.
Well, they actually both. Rhonda Fleming has red hair too, but
No, that's actually a great poster.
Tickle, tickle.
and now the German, Die Wendeltreppe.
Die, Wendell.
That wins design. Design wise.
And it looks like, I know what the shadow's supposed to be there on the side, but it almost kind of looks like Nosferatu going up the stairs.
Mm,
And the eye.
the eye.
So it was a German poster. And I don't know if I brought that one up or not. I probably didn't. That said something about Die Auge. The eye. A couple of I forget what these are called, handbills, I think. Fear that cannot be voiced, love that cannot be told.
Ethel Barrymore's face just keeps getting more and more faded out as these posters go. Less and less like her and more like Spanky from Algae.
All right. This one is Swedish.
I like that one.
Nice.
And one of the taglines came off of that. All right. That's it for the posters. Yay, everybody says.
Yay.
All right, so this is a basic cast. Well, let's just talk about the movie. What do you want to talk about? I mean, what really hit you that you want to talk about? And I'll pull up pictures if we got them.
Well, I think the Dorothy McGuire, it's a great performance. I think we need to notch her right. And again, that thing where it's like certain tropes in classic Hollywood movies, that by the end of the movie, she's somehow going to get her voice back. Because her muteness is the cause of trauma, right? And that's going to be Hollywood loved nothing more than to cure trauma by exposing characters to more trauma. This is a classic trope in so many Hollywood movies where it's like, oh, this traumatic thing happened to you. Here's another traumatic thing in a shot that will give you your voice.
Yeah, I love how the guy that she's falling in love with and dreams about getting married to is yelling at her, trying to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But that said, not only did I enjoy seeing the trope play out because Dorothy McGuire gave such a good performance throughout, but when it finally comes, when she's finally able to speak again, it's pretty effective.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty powerful there, that final scene, which you can't always say about the way this trope sort of plays out in most of these movies. So props to Dorothy McGuire. She's very, very good in this.
Yeah.
Anytime an actor has a non-speaking role and they have to more or less rely on their facial and body gestures and things like that to act is really a testament of how good they are, because they have to do so many things, convey so many emotions and feelings without saying anything. And we're so used to speaking and telling other people how we feel, we kind of have to figure that out. And she did an awesome job at that. And without so much the situations that she was in, reading into it that way, how she felt, but her actual facial expressions and everything just told the whole story. And that's a great, great, great talent if she can do that.
Yeah, I agree. And these are two pictures, I think, that do a good job of showing how she uses her expressions. I like the one on the bottom, just because she looks, you can just tell from looking at that picture that they're having this kind of thing between them. And she was just really good at that. And I liked also how she seemed to be part of this bigger group, how you could tell that she cared about these people that she worked with, and how they felt about her. I saw it there too. Yeah, she was really good. I feel like I wasn't distracted by it at all at the beginning, like the top one there when she's watching the silent movie. You don't really have any context, but then it just kind of, I don't know. I just feel like you kind of see it even there at that point, even when you don't know it yet.
And it's nice.
It just seemed very natural.
It's a nice little meta thing too. The fact that she's watching, because it's like that's set in 1916. She's watching a silent movie, and you find out that she herself is basically going to give a silent actor's performance throughout the movie. So I appreciate that as well. Can we talk a little bit about the opening scene? Just because talking about whether or not this is a horror or not, or a horror adjacent, this could have they could have kicked this movie off at the house, and this would have been a straight old dark house sort of film. But the fact that they begin it with a murder while she's downstairs watching the silent film and establishing the serial killer, I thought that was really effective. It was very like, oh, what is they just throw you right into this really sort of terrifying scene with the killer's first victim in that, to establish and just sort of set up the whole thing. I thought the opening, I think I'm going to try this. I thought the opening of this was very effective and pretty horrifying.
Yes. I thought that too when I was watching it, because it's really like a gross scene as far as her, like, I don't know. I want to say, like, it's just so kind of like violating right off from the beginning. You see this man, you see an eye kind of invading this woman's space and privacy.
And that's very, I'm sorry, Daphne. I know you're finished.
No. That's take it away, because that's pretty much all I wanted to say was, it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it reminds you a lot. We were talking about serial killers. It reminds you of a slasher in a way, because that's how every slasher has the killer peeking at the victim through whatever, and from Psycho on down to Halloween,
Right.
And once they establish that this serial killer is specifically targeting women who are disabled, or in the language of the day, have afflictions, makes it even more horrifying. It's not just a run-of-the-mill serial killer. It's like, no, I'm going to find women who are I'm going to focus on disabled women.
Yeah.
That's particularly like, oof. Not only is this a serial killer, but it's a particularly horrifying serial killer. Like who's targeting. So
that part did make me think of Black Christmas a little bit, just because that movie is such a scary movie. I really love that movie, and it's so like you feel like you're being watched all the time, even when people aren't being watched. They just get that point, they get that vibe. And so starting it off like that with this, I was kind of taken aback, and kind of like what you were saying, Gregory, this starts off right away with that. And it happened in this public place. I mean, everybody heard this kind of the body fall to the floor, and it's another murder. Everybody knows about these murders that are going on.
Pretty brazen, honestly. Which makes it, that's part what makes it so effective, is that literally downstairs an entire crowd is sitting there watching a movie, and upstairs there's a murder happening. So I thought that was right. They could have kicked off this story very differently, and I'm glad they kicked it off the way they did.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying about Dorothy McGuire, I saw a quote from somebody, and I don't recall who it was, but they were describing her as, it might even have been in her bio, but I agreed with it, that she had this very open face that was just, with very little expression on her face, you could tell the emotions change. It's not like she's not screaming, she's not grimacing, but you can see the fear and the
Yeah.
you know, the laughter and the humor and whatever the situation was.
She's acting with her eyes throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it just feels so natural. It just, yeah.
All righty. Well, first off, I didn't do a card on Robert Siodmak, but as Gregory mentioned, he directed Son of Dracula in 43 and Phantom Lady in 1944, which is more film noir,
right,
based on a book by Cornell Woolrich.
And you've seen Phantom Lady, right, Jeff?
Yes, I have.
Yes. One of the greatest, most ridiculous I Am the Killer tells in the history of cinema, with Fran Chatone constantly doing that thing every time he's having like a spell, like you know.
Yeah, follow that. I mean, he's really well known for his noir that he is for like Son of Dracula. So Phantom Lady, Cobra Woman, which you mentioned, The Suspect, 1944 with Charles Lawton,
which is very good. If you've never seen that.
It is. The Killers, 1946, which was then remade, I think, in the early 60s, and directed by Don Siegel, I think.
With Ronald Reagan, last film performance before he became governor.
The Dark Mirror, 1946. Time Out of Mind, 1947. Cry of the City, 1948. Crisscross, which is a phenomenally famous, highly rated noir film from 1947.
Probably in the top 10 of noirs, Crisscross. It's really
absolutely. The File on Thelma Jordan, 1949. The Devil Strikes at Midnight, which is I thought, and the German title was Nacht, wenn der Teufel kam, which is, it's about a serial killer during World War II, and it takes place in Germany. And I think they go after the wrong person, and somebody's trying to convince them. I assume it's like a Nazi official or something that's actually doing it. And I haven't seen it, but it sounds interesting to me. But yeah, so he didn't do as much. I think I in my mind had gotten him mixed up with Clifford Siodmak, his brother.
There are a lot of Siodmaks running around.
Or
Kurt. I'm sorry, Kurt.
Kurt. Yeah, I always confuse them in my mind as well. Kurt, who wrote The Wolfman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right, and then to bring up the writing, Mel Donnelly wrote film noir as well. This movie has really pulled from film noir experience. So Step Down to Terror in 1957. Lizzie in 1957, which is a multiple personality movie. And this, I love this. This is he wrote an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents called "And So Died Rhea Buchinska." That was based on a Ray Bradbury story. And then Jeopardy is film noir. Beware My Lovely, Cause for Alarm, House by the River, the Fritz Lang movie. He wrote that as well, which are these two I really, really like. The Reckless Moment and The Window, which is a really well-known.
The Reckless Moment is great. So
The Window is about a kid who sleeps out on the fire escape because it's so hot out, and he sees a murder. Mm. And from that point on, you can guess stuff happens. Somebody's coming after him for being a witness. And then Ethelena White, who wrote the novel that this was based on, also wrote the novel that The Lady Vanishes, the Hitchcock movie, was based on. And her novel was called The Wheel Spins. Also, the movie The Unseen from 1945 was based on her novel Her Heart in Her Throat. And I saw an Alfred Hitchcock Hour that was based on a story of hers, An Unlocked Window, where women were hiding in some house from a killer, and they had gone around and locked all the windows except one window in the basement. So anyway,
one of the pleasures of diving into these films is, and then looking up, thanks to the only good part of internet names, Wikipedia. And looking up people's filmographies and cross-referencing is finding out just how many films that various writers and directors had a hand in that you had no idea, and making
Right.
those connections across careers. It's great.
And
And
so-
also discovering, like, you know, these novels that, I mean, you know, a lot of novels
Mhm.
are completely forgotten.
Mhm.
Movies that are based on them are, you know, very well remembered. So that's fun too.
Yeah, because I hadn't really, Mel Donnelly was not a name in my vocabulary or in my memory, but I will pay attention more now.
It's very well written. It's
Mhm.
there is, you know, I mean, yeah, there's little tropes and things in it, but the construction of this is, which I think is really, I think if you're going to make an old dark house movie, it's got to be very tight, you know, in terms of the way the story is set up. All the business with going down into the wine cellar is all handled really well, both in terms of the actual, like, you know, suspenseful stuff, but also all of the stuff with Elsa Lanchester's cook and the wine. Yeah, which is just so, you know, what that could have been. Again, it's such a great cast. That could have been just a little throwaway thing, and Elsa Lanchester just completely owns it, and it's great.
Well, and just to add to even more to that, I'm sure there's even more personnel in the movie, but the music was by Roy Webb, who was nominated for 7 Oscars. From 35 to 55, he was like the music department manager or head person there at RKO. And at times even worked in conjunction with Bernard Herrmann. So I think that, you know, that the music people are ones that really astound me. That you could have 263 credits in music. It's just beyond me.
The studio system. We need it by Thursday.
And then I'm going to show some pictures later, but just get this out of the way. Nicholas Musaraka, I just love him, and I spent a significant time talking about him when we did, I think it was it Stranger on the Third Floor, and put up pictures from different ones of the movies. We've covered, this is the 5th movie we've done that he was a cinematographer for. Stranger on the Third Floor, The Cat People, The 7th Victim, and The Hitchhiker. But he also did the other Luton produced films, The Ghost Ship, The Curse of the Cat People, and Bedlam, and Deadline at Dawn, which we already brought up.
That's almost all of the Luton RKO films.
Almost.
Yeah.
There's a couple in there. I Walked with a Zombie and The Body Snatcher.
Well, that would make sense why this looks so great, because it's just fantastic. In fact,
The Locket.
Why don't you throw up that mirror shot?
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
Let me do this so I don't have to. I mean, he did The Locket. He did Out of the Past, which tops a lot of the list of best for.
Absolutely.
Spent most of his year at RKO and was known as Master of Lighting. A fellow cameraman once called him a painter with light.
Yeah.
And that he was largely responsible for the gritty, moody camera work that became that studio's signature. He was nominated for an Academy Award for I Remember Mama, 1948. He left RKO in the 50s, worked for Warner Brothers for a short period, and then joined Desilu Studios and spent the remainder of his career in television. So, yeah, let me find a couple of those shots here.
So good.
Is that it?
Yeah, there it is. Mm-hmm. This, you know, yeah.
That's one of those shots that the more I looked at it, the more I saw. You know, like when I first saw it, I think I'm looking down a stairway. But now I'm looking at it from a mirror, and I'm seeing the light fixture in the foreground. Anyway, it's
the sets in this were great. The lighting was great. The cinematography. Again, if you're doing an old dark house, you better have all that really dialed in. There's nothing worse than trying to watch like an old dark house movie from like the 50s maybe, where, you know, everything is overlit.
Yeah.
And it's just basic studio. Like, this is how we light movies, whatever else is happening. And you're just sitting there going, oh.
So the cast here, and I need to do these from left to right. On the left is Rhonda Fleming, Next to
Blanche.
Yeah, Blanche.
Blanche.
Long-suffering secretary.
Next to her is George Brent.
George Brent.
And I forget what his name was, Professor something or another.
It's Professor, what was her name, Warren?
Yeah. I think that's
Professor
right.
Psycho Killer.
Yeah. Oh, Albert. I feel like he has.
Warren,
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then Dorothy McGuire, who is Helen. And laying in the bed is Ethel
Mrs.
Barrymore.
Mhm.
She's
Who
so
is-
great in this.
Yeah.
And then next to, in profile to the camera on this side of the bed is Gordon Oliver. Do I have that right?
Mhm.
Dr.
So Gordon
Stephen.
Oliver and George Trent are half brothers or step brothers, I guess. They have the same father, but their mothers are different. And George Brent had a different mother.
Mhm.
Anyway,
And
he-
this brother is called Stephen.
yes, Stephen. Okay.
And Stephen is the biggest red herring.
Or red herring number 1, yeah.
I mean, that's the part of what makes this so sad is that his mother, Ethel Barrymore, totally thinks it's him
Yeah.
up until
Right.
Mhm.
Because that's the stuff happens whenever he comes home.
whenever he comes home, things happen, and so very smart on George Brent's part. But I just love Ethel Barrymore in this. I love all the scenes where she's supposed to be asleep, but then you see her eyes open and
Yeah.
she's
Mhm.
observing and everything.
Don't touch me.
Yeah. And she's just like, she's like this very. You just think she's this sort of very cantankerous old lady.
Uh-huh.
But she's really, she would find out by the end that no, she has her reasons for being the way
Mhm.
she
Yeah.
is.
I didn't quite follow, like the reason that Helen couldn't speak. I thought I heard two different stories, but maybe they did match. There's a.
She
it's a
saw
couple
her-
that tells the
parents'
story,
death.
but then
Yeah,
Yeah, her
Okay.
parents died, burned up in a house, and she saw
she saw.
them. Yeah.
well, I thought Ethel Barrymore talks about
Well, Ethel,
drowning her, and I'm the one who did it, or something like that.
she witnessed I always thought she was talking about she basically witnessed her son, her stepson kill someone else.
Yeah.
And that young woman fell in a well.
Oh,
And she
okay.
thought-
Yeah. She and that's why, and of course, she
Mhm.
couldn't see, so that's why she
Uh-huh.
assumes it's Stephen because she's
Mhm.
seen it from, I think, the upstairs window. She
So-
saw,
yeah.
from her
Mhm.
bedroom. So
Oh,
it was
okay. So-
dark. But she
Mhm.
just this is part of the whole tragedy of it is that
Well,
you know,
we
she knows her son is a killer,
Mhm.
but she just doesn't realize it's not the son she thinks it is.
Mhm.
Well, you talk about how the Daphne mentioned women don't have much agency, and Helen is like, they say words like they care about her, but they just order her around without a thought, So,
Mhm.
do this, go do that, or do this, and then they're mad, and then don't do that, go do this, and it's not terrible, but it's a lot. But yet, the second shot. So we've got a shot here of
Mhm.
Ethel Barrymore lying in bed, but then the shot below that, not only has she got out of
Mhm.
bed, she's dressed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
and she's
can't
very-
kill people when your
That's
bed
like-
closed.
That's that great
Yeah.
foreshadowing when she goes, I was always a great shot. The minute
Yeah.
she character said that, I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I know what's going to happen, and I was very pleased at that.
Mhm.
That she comes in at the climax and just like,
And
nope.
she comes out at the
Yeah.
top of the spiral stairs and shoots
Mhm.
her stepson.
Mhm.
So
Um,
But you're right, she's dressed, and I was blown away by that too, is because she's like, she's got it. She's got her wits about her. She's gonna get dressed. She's gonna take care of business.
And somebody yelled murder. Somebody yelled
Murder
murder.
or something like that. I think,
She-
yeah, murderer or something. I when you guys were talking just a few minutes ago, I really love the story. There are so many layers to it. There's, I was talking about the women with agency, and even when I was watching it, it was really drew my attention because there is some way that women are able to get some control in there. For each of these women, also with like I can't really explain it, but I just really felt like that was part of it being the story about these women and you getting to actually see their story. Her husband didn't really treat her very well. She's now there depending on her children to take care of her, but she is advising Helen, warning Helen, that the matriarch, I guess, of the house, and she has her own strong ways of kind of controlling things. Even with Elsa, I feel like she was numbing herself. I definitely got like a vibe like she was just, I don't know, numbing herself with the drinking. I didn't feel like it was just, oh, there's a drunk housekeeper. I mean, you could see that. I mean, I guess I was looking for stuff, but in addition to that, there was also the layers of like the masculinity, as far as there was constantly references to how their father did not like weakness, hated weakness, hated his sons. His wife was a good shot, but she wasn't as good as his first wife. And
the constant contrast between the sons,
mm-hmm.
one being very responsible and respected, and the other being clearly just sort of like a ne'er-do-well.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like, shows up whenever.
Yeah, but both being somehow influenced by their father, how their father treated him. Yeah. And just, I mean, I just felt like there was a lot of stuff that that was there that maybe if you just looked at, you could get a little bit more that added maybe to their character and why it was so believable.
Honestly, all of the women in this movie are coping as best they can, given the context they find themselves in. I feel like the only real victim is poor Rhonda Fleming's character, the secretary, who is compromised romantically, and then of course is set up to actually become the killer's next victim.
All right, I agree, and it reminds me a little bit of. It takes me back to something I had never thought of before, but realized about when you go back to the kingdoms and courts and things like that the women had no agency, and that's why, at least what it appears, and in a lot of history, that they're the ones that are conspiring and gossiping in the background, because the only way they have control is by marrying a rich landowner. Otherwise, they're at the mercy of whatever else happens. And so that's why they're always working to get that. Otherwise, they're just at their mercy. So I just felt a little bit like that, but I agree. And frankly, if you were married to the guy on the bottom left there, you'd probably drink too. That guy
Mr.
was
Oates.
Mr.
I like it. I really appreciated how, they're doing it as a red herring.
Yeah.
In his introduction, he is so surly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes you a minute to realize, oh wait, this guy's another one of the
Well,
servants. It's like he is not acting like a
wet raincoat and hat on. His whole demeanor is like, and then when they send him out in the rain, it's like, really?
Right. Well, I think he even calls Albert, like he calls him by his first name.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, it's like, what's going on with this guy? And I loved also the thunder, the thunder strike anytime opens the door, and it's like bum bum bum.
Very clever.
Mr. Oates,
So his name is
a 1940s Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, yeah. The actor's name is Rhys Williams, I think, or could be Rice, R-H-Y-S, has 148 credits. So another extremely experienced person. Just while I'm thinking about it, did you notice, so when the victim is killed in the room above the theater, then the neighbor who goes and gets and tells them what room it's in is, I believe that's who it was Ellen Corby. Did
From you mean eventually from the Waltons?
Yeah. Did you guys recognize her?
No.
She's got 270 credits.
And yet all that ever comes up in your mind, of course,
Is the Waltons. Yeah.
1949 nominee for Oscar Best Actress in a Supporting Role for I Remember Mama. That comes up again. So I couldn't find a picture of her because she's really only in it she's uncredited, but I recognized her as she's just a great character actor.
She's one of those people who you recognize, even if it's decades before what she's more well known for.
So there is one other one here. So we've got let's see, George Brent, and
not the greatest actor, but he's very effective in this.
No, and apparently he was at his best opposite Betty Davis, with whom he had a 2-year affair. And she claimed he was her best favorite actor. They were in 11
made movies together, didn't they?
No, that can't be right, because Betty Davis said the best actor she ever worked with was Claude Rains.
Favorite actor.
Okay, favorite. Maybe
she worked with 11 films.
Favorite is different than best. You're right.
Yes, and they were in 11 films together. Now, he said, which may be why Betty Davis liked him, that all a leading man had to have was a good haircut so that he looked good from the back of his head.
Because the shot was on Betty Davis?
Because they're going to focus on the female lead or something. Yeah. I don't know.
No, he's very serviceable, but he's actually, when he's revealed to be the psycho serial killer, eugenicist psycho serial killer, lest we forget that aspect of the story, he's a little like, oof, he's coming into his own in that scene. But,
Yep.
Well, in the movie, I know I don't know enough about it, but I know there's differences between the original book and the movie. And there was some thought that this idea of the afflictions was affected by Nazi Germany and concentration camps and the eugenics stuff that they were trying to pull. So especially with Siodmak.
Yeah, it actually works. It actually works very well, because this is coming out of the post-war era, is when people realize eugenics is not good.
So the person in this bottom picture, the person next to him is the sheriff or the marshal.
Yeah.
Chief of police. That is James Bell. He's got 160 credits.
He was funny.
Yeah.
He's a guy. I would have sworn he's in movies we covered before, but I couldn't find one. So, but he's in a ton of stuff.
I liked him too. I liked his interaction with the dog. I liked how they had the little bits of humor to kind of like bring you back down and give you a break.
Yeah, he goes to leave, but he can't leave because the dog's guarding
the dog's there. This little dog,
It's all that kind of business that it's that reality effect that pulls you into these people's lives and the fact in this house. It's very effective, because then again, as always, you get sucked in and you care about even the smallest characters, and you also wonder. It's like, okay, well, is it the handyman who exactly is it Stephen? It's very I think it's a mistake a lot of films make, where they don't make you feel the reality of not just the reality of the characters, but the reality of what life is like in this story, in the whatever year it's set, the context of everything, where you just sort of like just believe it, and I think that's because again, I feel like an old dark house genre, it's so easy to just fall back on cliches in that genre, and not really, and to lean too heavy on, everything is very, it lean too heavy on the gothic sometimes, whereas everything's creepy. Whereas this is just, the house becomes creepy, but initially it's just, this is just an old manor house in the middle of, outside of town. It is not, they're not telegraphing it in the way that a lot of old dark house movies telegraph it. It only becomes frightening as the story progresses.
And I think part of that, I feel like I'm not doing a really good job explaining the things that I like about this movie, but mostly because I can't quite put my finger on it, but it definitely feels like there's more going on underneath, and that somehow they portray that.
Yeah.
Somehow you're getting that vibe. And what you were
mean, like
saying about that.
Effect, you know?
Yeah, that's what
you're.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you're saying. And also, it does also kind of make me think about how what goes on behind closed doors. And so you have the old dark house, but like you said, this is just the life that these people live, that people, a family, people that work together, that care about each other, look out for each other. But then there's this thing, this horrible thing going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, I think it was Gregory said something about it. It's a great time here. One of the real benefits is access to all this information, right? The Internet Movie Database and other things. Well, apparently Rhonda Fleming was known to, for years, had told people she was nominated for an Oscar for this movie. And at that time, unless you made the effort to like go to a library or had a book, you were not going to find out that wasn't true. You couldn't just pull up your phone and go, no, you weren't.
Oh, yeah.
The one who was nominated for an Oscar was Ethel Barrymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
For Best Supporting Actor. Yeah. Now she had, where did I see? She was nominated for 4 Oscars and won 1 for None But the Lonely Heart. And I found this interesting. She was in a movie in 1932 called Rasputin and the Empress, where she and her brother John played the Tsar and Tsarina, and Lionel played Rasputin. She was also in the Paradigm Case. That was one of the ones she was nominated for, which that's Hitchcock, right?
That's Hitchcock, yeah.
And
not a great Hitchcock, but a Hitchcock.
Deadline USA, 1952 noir, is another film she was in. But anyway, she was nominated for this performance.
I need to dig up that Rasputin. It's very the picturing Lionel Barrymore as Rasputin. It sounds funny, but I'm sure he's very twisted and intense in it. Maybe not Christopher Lee twisted and intense, but. It's hard with Lionel Barrymore because his most iconic roles are like from the 40s with things like Key Largo and of course It's a Wonderful Life. That you forget in the 30s his health is still, he's just very spry. Like if you see something like Grand Hotel, he's just, he is not this image of this very old, elderly disabled sort of man. And then you go back and you see him in these earlier roles and go, oh wow, yeah, great, very good, very different from the way we tend to think of him.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of forgot to trying to remember which one this is on. So that's Kent Smith as Dr. Perry is riding with Helen in the carriage. Where do we know him from?
I don't know. Every asshole doctor who ever thought they knew better than you about your own condition. Oh no, I'm sorry. You mean the actor? Yes. Yes.
I thought it looked familiar, but I couldn't figure it out from what.
I didn't look him up.
He's in The Cat People.
Oh.
He's the male lead in Cat People, basically, and then in The Curse of the Cat People. And then later on, he did tons and tons of TV and lots of movies, but not much genre stuff. But then he was in How Awful About Alan in 1972. And The Night Stalker. He played the DA on the original Night Stalker movie.
Very nice.
In 72. And 1973, he was in a night gallery called Whisper.
Also in a movie called The Cat Creature from 73.
Yes.
And Billy Jack Goes to Washington.
Yes.
Lest we forget.
And finally, Die Sister Die was one he did. So I hate when I do this. I put initials down because I didn't have time to top all this down, and I don't remember at all what any of them were. He was also in 13 episodes of Invaders, which I don't know. I looked it up because it listed him with two names. Like he was in one episode of the first season as one character, and then in the second season he was in 12 episodes as a different character.
Well, that makes sense because he had 6 fingers on one of his hands, so he of course got cast in the
A Quinn Martin production.
All right. I'm Kent Smith. You know, it's weird to me because I don't know, in Cat People, and he just
was he the lead in Cat People? Was he the?
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder that's why I don't remember him. It's.
Well, no, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I'm serious. From Cat People, I mean, it's that classic bland leading man in a classic horror movie.
Yep.
You remember the psychiatrist from the Cat.
Well, I was reading a little bit about who is I want to say Conway.
Yeah.
The female is such a dominant force in that movie. So, all right. But I was reading about him, and they said it was sort of befuddling that he was a decent actor and had the looks of a leading man, and it just never went there. So, okay. So, well, let's take a look at, I think, Elsa Lanchester.
Hey.
I've never heard of her now. What was she in?
I don't know.
I think she played Mary Shelley in some movie.
Her hair was
some movie.
She does look a little familiar.
This could have been like a very two-dimensional role, and she made it something really, really good, I think.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, it's that reality effect. It's like you believe.
Well, it's great the way it's
these people in this house, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's great the way they shot that because she goes down with the guy to get, was it Brandy?
Brandy.
And she's got the candle, and he's looking around, and then the camera goes to her, and she lifts the candle up, and throws it across the room. I'm like, what the hell is she doing? Well, you find out.
Yeah.
While he's looking for the candle, she grabs a bottle of brandy and hides it. And then that's her partaking. But
I just want one nip, just a little nip.
Yeah.
And she was.
Yeah, she was good. She's so good.
So I'm just going to kind of roll through some what I consider to be sort of cool cinematography things here. That's Dorothy McGuire.
It's great.
We got shadows. We got
You guys were talking about set design. I mean, that's so true. And even like in this, the wood pile back there and the light hitting on it, the changing textures and the light, it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
beautiful. That's a gorgeous shot.
It feels like I just feel like Musaraka never misses a chance. He's always looking at those deep. Well, I think. Oh, that's her shadow. So now there's Rhonda Fleming.
Yeah.
Blanche coming down the stairs.
That's also beautiful.
I mean, and the great thing about this and why it's such a great title for this film is that it's the spiral staircase that becomes like sort of like, I was saying earlier about how they sort of avoid the classic old dark house cliches by presenting this as just a normal big manor house. But it's when you hit that spiral staircase that the gothic heart of everything comes to the fore. It's like, oh, this is what Daphne was mentioning about how all of the secrets, all of the sort of twists and layers are sort of embodied by the staircase and the shadows and descending it. It's just great. It's just, again, when it's a visual metaphor for the heart of the story. So it works out really well.
Well, and this too, the eye.
Yeah.
So,
and whose eye is that, Jeff?
That is Robert Siodmak's eye,
Yay!
the director's eye.
That's wild.
Because obviously, maybe they added it later, but what I thought was interesting.
If you had George Brent's eye, the audience would just be like, "That's George Brent's eye."
Yeah, that's not
No,
scary. All right. He looks like somebody that'd be in a lot of movies with Betty Davis as a second leading man.
Didn't I see that
no.
eye in a Betty Davis film?
What I find interesting is like in that first kill, he's hiding in the closet.
Mm.
And it's that old thing of, like when you come home from somewhere and your house is locked, you unlock and you walk in, you don't go through the house to clear it,
Yeah.
Well, maybe you don't, Jeff. Some of us are a little more careful.
Chad, how about it?
Oh yeah, I go through everything.
Well, that's because, Sammy knows where you live.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Yeah, so the eye, that was a thing. And so that happens a few times where they zero in on it. Again, that mirror shot on the stairs is just, I am just, every time I look at that, I'm blown away at how much you can see there down into the room and the dining table and the candles and and
the
we
contrast.
see her, we see her come around and walk up that stair. And that's when you start to realize, because it's not obvious to me at first that I'm not just looking through an opening or an arch or something to walk down the stairs.
Well, and that scene was also very good because of how the camera kind of moved around as she was going up the stairs. So you kind of approach the mirror from different angles. So you're kind of drawn. I was drawn into the mirror, looking in the mirror, seeing what she was seeing, kind of from the outside. And just, I just thought that was a really nice scene as well. Just how the camera moved around her.
I think I put this up for a second, but we didn't really talk about this. This is where, George Bank grabs her and is like telling her, "I'm going to kill you because you're not perfect." And how he sees her with her mouth muzzled in that mirror, and you see him. You see the straight on visual of him. You're seeing the face in the reflection. I don't know. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it suddenly occurs to me that it's just how insane the professor is, in that, in addition to the sort of eugenicist serial killing spree he's on, she's not someone who was born with this disability. This is a psychosomatic thing. He must know this. He must know the story that she doesn't speak because of trauma, right? And yet it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter that this isn't it is very much like, it doesn't matter if the affliction is genetic. If you are weak and imperfect, you are, and a woman, you are in his sights to destroy. So that's it's a pretty chilling background for a serial killer. So especially in the 40s,
Yeah. Well, here's a couple. Also, there's Blanche in the basement and hearing noises and wondering who it is, and at some point, "Oh, it's you. What are you doing down here?" And then immediately understand what's going to happen. And I think, is she getting killed just because she sees him or something? Because she doesn't have an affliction of any kind.
Well, I think he hates her because he loves her and she doesn't love him.
Oh, that's right.
They had a relationship.
Yeah.
There we go.
And she's trying to leave too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's trying to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, there's all that stuff between her and Stephen.
Yeah, his brother.
Which of course is that's the whole reason they put that in there, so that you think at this point that, oh, it's Stephen.
Yeah.
Rhonda Fleming did a bunch of noir type stuff too. While the City Sleeps, Slightly Scarlet, The Killer is on the Loose. Those were all released in 1956. 1953, she made a movie called Inferno that was directed by Roy Ward Baker.
Huh.
Wait, is that the Robert Ryan 3D one?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was 3D. Roy Ward Baker, who ends up doing Hammer films in around 19 or some. Cry Danger, 1951, and again Out of the Past, 1947, and another Hitchcock, Spellbound.
Yes.
Just so cool. Elsa Lanchester, I was going to say, it's. So we did. I think we actually came out and said Bride of Frankenstein, right? Didn't we? Or did we never say?
We didn't actually say it because if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know Elsa Lanchester's The Bride of Frankenstein, go home.
But she was in one of Daphne's favorite movies too.
Well, where? Huh?
That Darn Cat.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say Elmo and Grouchland.
I'm
Well,
gonna
no,
have to
you're
dig
thinking
out
of-
that VHS.
You're thinking of Arnold. She's in Arnold in 1973 and Terror in the Wax Museum. She was in a night gallery called Green Fingers. And she was in Willard.
Yep.
Ah.
In terms of genre stuff.
Oh, I need to watch Willard again. It's been a while.
All right, back to the but that that one there, look at how much is in that picture. The framing of that and the shadows and the set design and
the light on her skin. They were talking about his lighting, that light on her skin, and
they knew what they were doing.
Yep.
And here, this is the first kill. Wow, that was so startling.
It's really effective.
Unnerving.
Yeah, exactly. Unnerving is a good way to describe it.
I liked her character too. It's like we've been talking about women throughout the podcast, and she's clearly smart. And she is, she works for this professor, so as a secretary or assistant or whatever. And she, is annoyed by Stephen, even if she's having a relationship with him. He's just like totally disrespectful of her job and her trying to work or whatever. And she did actually have quite a bit of agency. I guess when I was thinking about it, it's just how the men kind of treated the characters and the opportunities they had. But her choosing to leave and
that's true. She does get fed up, and she is to go.
Well, and she sticks up for herself even when he's like, I'm trying to work. I told you I don't like this. So it was, I wish I could put my finger on that, but there was just so many interesting things happening with the women in this movie.
I think a way to just put it is that all of the characters, no matter how small, are well written, well acted. They all have.
That's true. That's true.
There's no real throwaways. Which again, in genre, you can get away with some stereotypes and some two-dimensional characters if they're just there to be a certain, die at the monster's hands or whatever. This is not the case. This film.
This is another one of my. This is like a favorite shot too. So
that was good.
You're like sighting right down the gun down the spiral stairs. Just
Again, I knew that's how it was gonna go, and I was so thrilled when Ella appeared.
And look at the shadow of the gun on the wall.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Great stuff.
Yeah. Well, and another thing I liked about the scene, in addition to the cinematography and the lighting and like how Helen is wearing white and there's all these other dark colors and stuff, is I loved his death, because I don't think he said anything. I can't remember him saying anything. He just slowly died. And
he just slumped over.
And she said, Barrymore said everything. I thought that was really interesting.
And then she sort of collapses from exhaustion.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's perfect. It's a great ending.
So, hey, folks, this thing is on YouTube. There's several, I think I found 3 different links that are excellent resolution.
They're all good copies. Yeah.
You can also get, I think it's Kino Lorber has a Blu-ray. It's also on Plex, I think. And if you have a subscription to FlixFling, as we record this, that of course changes a lot. But this is worth it. It's it's less than 90 minutes. It's a dynamite. For me, this is the kind of film you could just turn the sound off and I could just watch the images and just revel in the sets and the light and shadow and the.
It's easier for you that way, anyhow.
It is. It is. Look at the.
Well, it's Robert Siodmak. I mean, he even in his strictly non-noir stuff. I mean, I recall. I think I recall when you guys did Son of Dracula, talking about how good it was.
Yeah.
You know, the various, and actually Son of Dracula. I mean, again, as I was saying, when they were doing this retrospective, I almost saw it again, even though I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
I think that's the handsomest Lon Chaney Jr. has ever been.
Yeah, just because it looks great, you know. There's nothing wrong with Son of Dracula except that poor Lon Chaney Jr. is just not entirely properly cast.
Yeah.
You know. So, but other than that, you know, I think it's. I remember you guys talking about this. Looks really great. Siodmak knew what he was doing with his collaborators when it came to visuals.
All right. Any other things we want to touch on that we've missed?
Watch it.
Yes, please.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this, watch it. You may not consider it a horror movie, but as Chad even said, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of noir and you haven't seen it yet, put it on your watch list. And if you're a fan of the Gothic, it's a Gothic noir. It really is. It's got that whole classic Gothic vibe without it being, you know, what we tend to think of Gothic as being over the top, and it's not a decaying mansion. It's not a cursed family. It's just like, nope, there are secrets here. Really, really screwy once you get to part of them.
Yeah, there's something going on behind that door. Yeah.
And it's got that old time religion. So it's got that going for it.
Which old time religion is that, Chad?
I have no idea.
Oh, can I say one scene that I really, really, really loved is when Helen was trying to get away from the professor, and she's upstairs and she sees the constable outside, and so she throws the lamp through the window.
Oh yeah.
And he's hearing this. She's knocking on things, and he's hearing it, and he's coming out to look for her, and then he's distracted, or he thinks the sound is coming from the gate.
Yeah,
that's being hit against from the wind. I just thought that was a great scene, and I think it had a lot of suspense
in it.
And
I was going to mention that this was originally, the rights to this was originally purchased by David Selznick, and he originally wanted to cast Ingrid Bergman as the lead.
Ooh.
And then ended up selling it to RKO, and that's where that went. So I think Dorothy McGuire does great. And you know what? I just realized I didn't do my short little Dorothy McGuire thing. So the thing that I remember her from is Old Yeller.
Yeah.
Which I have never seen. And I'm not ashamed to say that.
She was also the mother in the 1960 Disney Swiss Family Robinson.
Yes.
She was in another one with I forget the name of it. The word "Summers" in the title, but Haley Mills is in it. So
she was nominated for an Academy Award for Gentleman's Agreement. That was
yes, which is a story of an anti-Semitic movie.
Yeah, first movie to address it.
Is it Gregory Peck masquerades as Jewish and then starts to find out what it's?
Yeah. She's great.
And then she was in, I always talk about Val Lewton. She's in a couple of movies that were directed by Mark Robson, who came out of the Lewton group. Started as an editor and then went on to direct some of those movies. One was called Trial in 1955, and the other one was I Want You. And they were both about, I Want You was about the effect that conscription into the armed services had on the families and the communities and stuff. And Trial was about racism that developed after World War II and into, the anti-communism thing and suspecting everybody. So anyway, she was in both of those. Haste to Live. Yeah, I can't understand how that could ever happen.
Everybody knows communism causes giant ants.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that
radioactive lizard.
We can all agree that Stalin was a tremendous ant hole.
A huge ant hole.
Thank you. I'm going to work ant hole into every single episode I guest on from now on, just so you know. So, yes.
It's a big ant hole. Well, we always do go into transgenital.
That's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah. We got some feedback, folks. So that's it for the Spiral Thursday. So since who wants to take this? Chad, how about you on the first one here? Episode 136, The Return of Dracula.
Sounds of Silence, K8U says. So many great quotes from this movie. I remember when I first saw this when I was 8. It was 1971. I watched Creature Feature and then Tales of the Unknown in Boston, Massachusetts. The first feature was the first time I saw Conga and then The Return of Dracula. I thought it was so cool when Jenny got staked. Take that how you will.
Yeah, Sound of Silence. Be careful what you let out there. And now we have another one from Sound of Silence. Episode 159, The Manster. Daphne, please.
Okay. Sound of Silence. This movie was way ahead of its time. I remember my dad telling me, hey, you got to see The Manster. He saw it a long time ago. Two-headed monster. I was 7 years old, and it was on at 2 p.m. on a Sunday. Oh, one of the best times to watch movies. I think it will feature. I think it was feature movies on Channel 56 in Boston, Mass, and it used to be on Creature Feature at 7:30 those days. My mom was like, "What is this?" It brings back lots of memories. My Italian neighbor Helen, no longer here, though she should give it a try to watch Creature Feature. I thought she should give it a try to watch Creature Feature. And when she saw the monster, she cursed me out and said it's evil. I told her not all the Creature Feature movies are like that. And she said, you're evil, Donald. That's totally evil. I was 8. She should see what me today. Great memory.
I think
maybe you should check your scalp in the mirror.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this when I did a comment on the Manster episode, but that's one of my things that terrifies me more than anything. This guy just drops in on a guy like, oh, I'm alright. It's like, oh, hello, and then he just turns him into a monster. No reason. Just you wandered into my place, and I'm an evil scientist. So, I'm just going to turn you into a two-headed monster.
You are who I thought you were. Appreciate it, Sound of Silence. Great. I love those stories about
that's wonderful. Thank you.
Episode 194, Earth versus the Spider, from Robert Baker. Gregory.
Robert Baker says, the only way I've ever seen this one is as the MST3K version, same, and I got a kick out of it. When I used to buy 3K episodes on DVD, they sometimes used to include the movie on its own without any of the segments. So you could just watch the movie as it was intended. Unfortunately, this film didn't get that treatment, although Beginning of the End did. But this was paired with The Screaming Skull, so it was a good pickup back in those days. For a very brief time, Walmart sold MST3K DVDs for $5. Wish they had kept going with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. I remember more than 15 years ago where, you couldn't just watch episodes of MST3K live streaming on YouTube. And it was sometimes very hard to find inexpensive DVDs of the show.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Robert. Episode 195, Kaltiki, the Immortal Monster, from Mikey Z. Chad.
Bava Bing, Bava Blob, and Bava Bill to boot. It sounds like an Andrew Dice Clay. Baba Bing over here. I know I saw this as a kid on local NYC TV back in the 60s, and I confused this with The Blob and The Creeping Unknown. All contain this similar type of amorphous creature. Some of the gory effects stuck with me. The peeling of the arm flesh, the consuming of human beings with flesh being eaten away. I saw this after your podcast announcement with the English dubbing, and those memories came rushing back. Watched it again looking for Bava touches. The hand arm at the beginning clawing over the ridge, close-ups eating away flesh, and the Spielbergian backlit scenes might be his work. Ooh, Vern. Like the Grue-Crew, I equate this to the Creeping Unknown, Quatermass experiment, probably due to its black and white cinematography. It does have some slow moments, but towards the end it picks up. Some of it reminds me of the Mex horror Mummy or Santos film. In fact, some of the dubbing artists of those classics voice some of the characters here. Another classic podcast by the Grue-Crew. Trivia: the Jewish-Polish dish kishka is made from the same ingredients that make up kaltiki. Yummy.
That was the standout bit of trivia from that episode. What a load of tripe!
Yeah. I love that.
Tripe.
I seriously, after rewatching it before I listened to that episode, I suddenly thought I wish I just had a rainy Sunday where I just watched watch the Blob and X the Unknown and Kaltiki. Yeah. Just like have some kind of amorphous blob of a day. Just watch nothing but blob movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
get cozy and watch some blobs.
We haven't covered that Quatermass film yet, have we?
We haven't, and actually,
I can't find it.
I think the Quatermass experiment is streaming on Amazon. I think right now.
Ooh,
pretty good.
That's my favorite.
And you know what? I gotta say that I forgot to say this earlier. George Brent always reminds me of one actor and one actor only, and that's Brian Donlevy.
Yeah.
So,
I can see that.
I'm going to knock your jaw loose. I'm a professor and I'm a scientist and I know everything.
All right. Well, thanks, Mikey Z, Robert Baker, and Sounds of Silence. These are some great feedback. So keep them coming. And I'm a little disappointed because I haven't seen much on the Curse of the Crying Woman. We need some feedback on that.
All right, Jeff. Fine. I'll watch the movie and I'll get.
Well, I know you waited because you didn't want to read your own feedback.
Or hear Chad reading my feedback.
Yeah. All right.
It's not that bad.
As you can see, we love feedback. So you can leave comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can send an email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or even go to Gruesome Magazine's H&R and DOH podcast Facebook group and make comments.
And if you join the Patreon, support.
You can make comments on Patreon.
You can make comments. I've made a couple of comments on the Patreon.
Yes, you have. So we do have a Patreon group, and for a small monthly donation, you will get Decades of Horror, usually the day after we record it, maybe 2 days, and normally it's 12 to 14 days after we record it before it goes public, assuming we're following our normal schedule, which we hardly ever do. But anyway,
and you'll get those sexy time photos of Jeff once a month that everybody likes so much. Those are a big hit.
I know where those will come from. Just make sure you
good lighting.
You need to Photoshop it and put my face on like Clint Walker or Rory Calhoun. Anyway,
a lot of airbrushing.
Yes. A lot. Well,
careful, Jeff. I'm sure there are fans of Decades of Horror who will go and take your face and put it on every Western actor TV show, from Have Gun Will Travel to Maverick, and then you'll be sorry that you said that.
That's it for this episode, Grue Believers. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up is one chosen by a special returning guest, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920.
Have you? I can't believe that you guys have not. Is this a repeat? I can't believe you
It
guys
is.
have done Dr.
It
Caligari.
is.
Okay.
We did it in episode 13.
Okay, I was about to say it was like it would be very strange to have gone this far into the classic era without hitting Caligari. But I for one, and I'm just gonna say this for everybody, I love it when the Grue-Crew does a movie they've done before, especially if it's a different makeup of crew members, because time passes, and sometimes you come up with a film and it's really you have a different take on it or a different relationship to it. Mm-hmm. So I love it when there's a repeat.
Well, and that's a good point. Is as the more of these we do, the more we learn, and the more I'm assuming I'm going to see different things in this movie than we did the first time. That was oh my lord,
it was a long time.
8 years ago, I think.
Oh my gosh,
Caligari is great. I show it to my students every semester. It's
cool.
Great. Yeah.
Chad and I were on it, but Daphne and Doc were not, and our guest requested it. I told him to pick it, and that's what he picked. So,
looking forward to hearing that.
I am too. All right, folks. Thank you so much for my screw up with the times and all that stuff. Someday there'll be an episode.
You're not used to the Western time zone.
Well, that, and we talked about moving it a couple episodes ago, and so I think that's where it left. I didn't change anyway. You're right.
It's my fault. The date was to accommodate to me, so
no, it's not.
It's all good.
It's always my fault. But I can't find. Oh, okay.
We can go with that.
So thanks, Chad. Thanks, Daphne. Thanks, Gregory. And looking forward to Doc being back. Yep. And thank you all.
I hope Doc will be back. What was the name of that cruise line again? Was that the Death Ship?
Death Cruise to the Caribbean. I think it was. Yeah. Caribbean Death Cruise. Well, something like that. Death Ship.
He'll come back and he's like, I met Peter Cushing in this abandoned.
No, I think it was
that's not Death Ship. That's shocking.
Ship East Coast.
I'm fixing up my.
I saw. What was his name? George Kennedy. I saw George Kennedy in.
Yeah.
You ran the ship.
It was Ghost Galleon East Coast. Yeah, that was it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Say good night.
Good night, everyone.